Hey there! Well, happy Monday! Well, welcome back. So today I've got a little tour for you, of course. Lots of awesome stuff growing in the garden, and I'm about to have Armenians running out my ears. And I've also got an update for you about what to plant in October, but I'm not going to talk about what to plant today in October. I'm actually going to talk about that tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to go live here on YouTube for the very first time. It's been about a year now. I started my YouTube channel last year in October, so I kind of thought for my quasi 1-year anniversary that I would do a live video with you. So tomorrow I'm thinking probably like maybe 6 o'clock Arizona time, which is right now it's still mountain time, or 5 o'clock Pacific, or kind of have to figure it out from there. But I'll go live about 6 tomorrow Arizona time, and I'll chat with you about what the recommendations are for what you can plant here in October. And I also will do my best to answer any questions if you want to pop in and say hi to me and ask me a quick question. Otherwise I'll just sit there and ramble and try not to act too silly. Okay, so other than the tour, I'm also going to give you, I'm going to show you a little bit about how I transition my containers, my buckets, and a couple of planter containers that used to have the tomato plants in them, how I revamped that soil, added some amendments to it, and got it ready to plant the brassicas, the broccoli, and the cauliflower in one of my Brussels sprouts in. So that'll give you some insight into how you can you know, take some buckets that you've already used, instead of dumping that dirt out, amending and reusing that dirt to plant for the future. And there's some tips about how many times you can use that dirt, but all of the dirt in my first round of buckets, it was just their first season with those tomatoes. So let's get to the tour, and then I'll show you what I did to revamp those buckets, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow when we do the live video. So check out the tour. I wanted to start over here with this wild Texas cherry because the temperatures have been, actually it's kind of chilly out here right now, but the temperatures have been so nice that we've been getting lots of flowers and a lot of fruits and veggies setting for us. And I just want to remind you that this is a volunteer plant, that its original mother used to be right here. This was its home, but that was like last year in the summer. And then this came up. This was a volunteer, so that just means it's like one of these that didn't get eat, that fell off, got down into the soil, and then a year later germinated. And now this thing is nuts, and I've just kind of kept it going between all the craziness that used to be in here, and now that it's cooled off, you know, I've got tomatoes everywhere. So there's my little wild Texas cherry, and this is my first loofah, and we tried to pollinate it, and there's been bees over here, so, and it seems like it's slowly getting bigger, so cross your fingers for that. This one, it never opened up, and then there's a cool little cluster right there. So that's going on there. This is getting greener and happier, and we did discover that back here in this bed there's a lot of calendula coming up, and if you look at those little flat green looking ones, those are nasturtiums. So those are all volunteers too, that popped up from seedlings that fell off of all those flowers. So I'm getting really excited about this. My bean plant is making beans now. I guess that's my Aunt Ozzie over there, and that this is actually a green bean, because pretty sure the Aunt Aussies don't look like this. But look, I didn't even know that was there. That's probably one of my best looking green beans. And so this is happy, and I think this one probably needs a little bit more sun. So I'm gonna have to come in here and trim up the overhang. But this Mama Jamma is still going wild. You know, it's as tall as me. Well, this point right here is taller than me, but like I said, I'm gonna let it go for a while. And then down here, these other squashes, y'all, I tell you, I need to fertilize so bad. But I just keep forgetting. I'm so wrapped up in my book. And I like to do it after dark. But they're looking good, they're flowering. I just know that they'll set females if I go ahead and fertilize them. And I guarantee you this week, I'm gonna take this one out. I'm gonna let these last couple okras come through, but that will help with sunlight. And as you can see, there's no new bouquets coming in. Almost everything that's here left to come is up here, and it's not much. Whereas this thing's gonna keep making for me, so we're gonna let it take over. Okay, so I still haven't done anything with the crazy oregano. The mint looks happy. That is not so eh. This pigeon pea looks okay. Bulk trash got carried out. This thing is awesome. There's a lot of good finds in here. We noticed this after last week's video. So this has got to be a butternut. And if you go along here, that's well, this is a flower. Can't remember what squash this is. There's the first baby I showed you last week. There's another one up there. This blue Hubbard is getting really pretty down here. Now the Armenian is going all the way over here to the ladder, and the pumpkin has now ran up the ladder a couple of times. So the tail end of it's here. So we've been just guiding it along, and it's looking pretty cool. And over here is a pretty little pumpkin flower. So like I said, I'm pretty sure if I will go ahead and fertilize, then a bunch of females will come out. So I keep calling this a spaghetti, and I don't know if this got fertilized, but maybe it did, because there's a lot of bee activity. But this might be a blue Hubbard too, because I think I have two. And that collard's kind of doing okay. A lot of the flowers over here are waking up. They're definitely looking a lot greener, and they're getting some flower heads and some flowers coming out. Now, this area here are all the kind of what I'd call movable brassicas. From the transplants that I bought that day that we went to Summer Winds. So this is a Brussels sprout. These are cauliflower. And you'll see in a minute how I reset these buckets after they were the home of the tomatoes, how I amended the soil and what I did to get this ready before I planted all these. So all of these adjusted really well. And you know, right now it's about 7, so you can see that this is how much light they start out with in the day. And then they're going to get good light until about 2, and then kind of indirect from there. So if I have to make some adjustments, I will, but that's why I chose to have these in buckets. So these first 2 rows are all my broccoli, and there's cauliflower back there in the back, and then, like I said, some over here in the smaller. And then this is just like 2 feet away from the brassica bucket. Comes the Armenian out this way, and this bed, this is probably the last year for this bed. I want another bed over here because I think this isn't just grass seedlings. This is grass coming up from the bottom of the bed, and I'm not that good because I'm so spoiled about not having stuff in my bed. But so yeah, and I don't know if I've showed you that there's a considerable colony of fungus growing on the back of this bed. I'll show you in just a second. So there was a double Brussels sprout in that container. That little baby was kind of the double. So I tried to pry it away, and it hasn't died yet, you know, so it looks like it might have a chance. Most of the kale over here is just gotten covered up, but I think this right here looks beautiful. And this thing, still not 100% sure. Looks like it might have a worm on it though. But like I said, I'm not 100% sure if these are, I don't think they're jalapenos. I still think they're probably in the poblano family. And then there was an extra cauliflower that I had. And still still need to get some more plants over here, but holy goodness, look at that Armenian. I did not even realize that that one had gotten that big, so I need to get that down. There's another, oh, and here's a cantaloupe that I called that a watermelon last week, but it's not. It's a cantaloupe from this plant. And these mustard greens look awesome. And now this week we'll have to start paying attention to this. So this week we're almost to the top of this, and I don't know if it's trapped or what, but so next week we'll see if we're higher than that, but I'm not going to adjust that. And then this river of goodness goes this way, and there's another Armenian down here, and I think the watermelon is getting pretty dang close to picking time. So there's the back of bed 3. I think I showed you everything that's in there, but the cool thing about having this monstrosity is you always find stuff, and that's pretty fun after a long sweltering summer of not finding nothing. And here is the crazy sweet potato bed, and we kind of propped this up hoping that maybe some of these vines would come up the back. We've noticed that everybody's kind of gotten so used to this plant being here that if the vines come out this way, sometimes they accidentally get stepped on. The tomato is actually starting to flower, but you can see that it's really on the run now. It's going all the way up the wall over there, so that'll be interesting. I've got all my buckets set up here that I'm going to put transplants in, and I probably need a couple more buckets still. But this is a lot of my tomato buckets. And now, you know, when I'm working in a bed over here, you see me all the time, like I'll cut something down, I'll just cut it at its base and I'll leave it there. And that's because I'm leaving it for the microbiology of the soil to consume. But when I'm working with containers, you kind of want to get more than that out of there, especially since like these tomatoes I don't think ended the best. So this one was easy to pull out, so I just pulled it out, but this one right here hasn't loosened up a lot, so I'm actually going to go in and kind of cut this one away, and then I'll be able to just real easily pull it out, and then there'll just be a little bit of the root system left in there. But see, now that was pretty much the main body, and I'll just throw that into my compost. So now when I go to get ready to dig my hole, you know, there won't be a stump there, and in a little bit we'll freshen up this soil, and I'll show you how I'm going to do that. But when you're working in containers, you really, like I said, want to try and get the bulk of the root ball mass out, because this is a much shorter lifespan of a microbiome. So even though we're going to go back in and build this up with some nutrients, we don't necessarily want these big fibrous stalks staying around. They're, you know, they're not going to break down as fast as they would in our bed. So I'm just going along here, and I'm kind of pulling up a valley in my container to put my amendments down into. So here's kind of a better example, and I'm just pulling up all the sides like that to form a deep basin for all of my amendments to sit in. For my amendments today, I'm going to use some eggshells from my eggs, and I'm going to use some azomite, some kelp meal, and some worm gold castings, and then I'm going to top with the steer manure. So that's pretty much going to be my order. So I'm basically just going to kind of do like a little light handful of all these in my hole, because it's not like you need a ton. I'm probably going to go heavier with my worm gold and my manure than I do all 3 of these. So this is really just going to be probably like a handful, equating to about 2 tablespoons. So I'll show you when I get done. So just to show you that it's nothing fancy, it's just like I said, you know, just a good sprinkling. And all we're doing here is adding back in some trace minerals that have been used by the plants that were in these containers before. I'm personally new to the kelp. It's kind of got this greenish color, but I'm just going to kind of do it the same way I did with the eggshells and the azomite. Just kind of getting a good sprinkle in there. And this is just bringing in some trace elements from seaweed and kelp and, you know, some other things from the sea. For the black gold, the worm castings, I'm going to do more like a cup. So you can see here that this is kind of the top of the transplant. So I set it down in the hole and whisked the sides back down around it. Now I'm just going back in with the manure, taking just about 2 cups and filling in around the plant so that it looks like these over here. So there's all my broccoli planted. Well, I hope that you enjoyed the tour and that you've got a lot of things in your yard that are starting to pop out, like hopefully some tomatoes and some cucumbers. We've got a lot of winter squash coming in too. So let me know down in the comments what you've got growing right now, what you're picking. Are you picking anything? Because I know we're picking okra, we're picking Armenians, and as soon as those red cherries turn red, we're going to be picking those too. And again, I hope I get to see you tomorrow when I go live at 6 o'clock Arizona time, and we'll chat about what to start planting or what to use as transplants here in the month of October in our low desert garden. And as always, I want to thank you so much for dropping in whenever you get a chance, and I want you to have the best day ever, and until next time.